to Chrissy's Books. I am Chrissy. Thank you so much for tuning in to my book review. So for this week, I have a fantastic book for you, and it is Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson. So I'm sure you have heard of this incredible book. I first came across it on Oprah's Instagram last year in August. Also, this book was just everywhere. I'm talking like, like how Barack Obama's book came out last year, like it was just everywhere, all over Instagram. This book was exactly the same. And Isabel Wilkerson is a Pulitzer Prize winner, and she also wrote this other incredible book, which I haven't read yet, called The Warmth of Other Suns. And so many people have told me how amazing this book is. So I kind of knew that this book would be equally as amazing. So yeah, she's a pretty accomplished person and author. So I actually won this audiobook. It's an audiobook. This is an audiobook review, but still a book review. I won the audiobook via Instagram last year, which is really cool. So I kind of figured, like, why not listen to it, right? Let's just get into what Caste is all about. So I'm going to be reading from my little screen because I cannot memorize this. But anyway, Caste is a nonfiction book that examines the unspoken caste system that has shaped America and shows how our lives today are still defined by a hierarchy of human divisions. In this brilliant book, Isabel Wilkerson gives a masterful portrait of an unseen phenomenon in America as she explores through an immersive, deeply researched narrative and stories about real people, how America today and throughout its history has been shaped by a hidden caste system, a rigid hierarchy of human rankings. Beyond race, class, or other factors, there is a powerful caste system that influences people's lives and behavior and the nation's fate, linking the caste systems of America, India, and Nazi Germany. Wilkerson explores 8 pillars that underlie caste systems across civilizations, including divine will, bloodlines, dehumanizations, and more. Beyond this, she points forward to ways America can move beyond the artificial destructive separations of human divisions toward hope in our common humanity. So that is what this heavyweight of a book is all about. Stay tuned. When I come back, I'm going to give you guys my review, my rating, and also my song pick for this, massive read. Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned to my book review. So I'm just going to actually jump right into my review for this brilliant book, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson. So I never do this, but I'm just going to give you my rating, and then you can stick around if you want to listen to the rest of my review. So I actually gave this book a rating of 10 out of 10. Yes, you guys. Yay! I freaking love this book. I mean, 10 out of 10 rating for me. This book means that it was off the charts. I loved everything about this book. I literally have no negative comments about it. It was epic and it was enthralling, and I would highly recommend it. So now you know my rating for this book. I'm gonna give you my review for it. So basically, I'm just gonna say that if you guys want to stick around, I would definitely compare this book to like The Matrix, right? So in The Matrix, if you haven't watched The Matrix, I don't know where you've been, but everybody knows The Matrix. In The Matrix, Neo gets presented with 2 pills, the red pill or the blue pill. And the red pill, the one that he chooses, is the one that, he basically gets to learn about what life is and what the Matrix is. And if you choose the blue pill, you kind of just stay in your little dreamland and never really find out the truth. So if you were Neo and you would choose the red pill, then read this book, And if you chose the blue pill, then, move on and jump on to my next book review, right? So let me actually just now jump into my review for Caste. So I don't really know where to begin because this book was just sheer brilliance, right? It actually took me about 3 months to fully listen to this audiobook. I remember I started like around December 2020, and then I didn't finish till like March of this year. So I actually finished it a while ago, but it's just taken me ages to like actually get this review up on my website and on YouTube. Yeah, it took me so long to actually get through this book because it's a massive book. It's almost like 500 pages. It's one of those books that you definitely want to take your time with. And I actually have to say that I really loved the audiobook. I'm really mostly a reader. I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks. I really enjoyed listening to this audiobook. It felt quite educational as well. I really loved the narrator, whoever it was. I probably need to find that out. But I thoroughly enjoyed the audiobook. And I also will say that I will be purchasing the physical book because I feel like this is one of those books that should just live in every household. And I will definitely be going in and checking out certain chapters of it. I definitely want to reread it. So it was just a really incredible, like, heavyweight of a book, and I definitely understand why everyone was just hyping all over everywhere, not just Instagram. I'm talking about like everywhere. So many bestseller lists, and it was just, yeah, it's a heavyweight of a book for sure. So let's just start with what exactly is caste, right? So I actually thought it was quite interesting that she used the word caste instead of race or class, you know? Yeah, I actually remember thinking when I first saw this book, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting, you know, use of the word. I would never think caste, you know, I always think race or like social class, that type of thing. But anyway, so Isabel Wilkerson, I don't know why I keep saying Wilkerson, who specializes in nonfiction narrative type of style. She said that in her first book, The Warmth of Other Suns, where she writes about the 6 million people who left the Jim Crow South, is what led to this book, Caste. She realized that racism wasn't what led these millions of people to migrate to the north. It was much deeper than that. She began to use the word caste in this book, The Warmth of Other Suns, in which eventually led her to the book Caste, The Origins of Our Discontent. So I just want to say a few quotes from the book that kind of will explain what caste is. So what is caste? Caste holds everyone in a fixed place. It's an artificial hierarchy that grades the ranking of human value in society. It's what determines one's standing, respect, and access to resources, assumptions of intelligence, beauty, and competence. Caste focuses on the infrastructure of our divisions and the rankings, whereas race, it's the metric that's used to determine one's place in that. Race in the United States is the visible agent of the unseen force of caste. Caste is the bones and race is the skin. So that kind of, you know, hopefully that kind of explains what caste is all about, or what she interprets caste as in this book. So just with that explanation, I mean, for me, this book I thought was just so brilliant. It was really incredibly and thoroughly researched. It definitely covers quite a lot of subject areas in this book. And even though it is a heavy in terms of like a big book, it actually was quite accessible, and it wasn't like a super intense read. So anyone can actually read this book. You don't have to be like, you know, some university scholar or whatever. Like, you can just be some regular person. And I really liked how accessible she made the book, and anyone can understand what she is trying to convey in this book. One of the things that I just loved about this book is that throughout the entire book, she continues to define what caste means. And I really found this really insightful and necessary. And also she explores the origins of caste in the American system, and the hierarchy that began in the US with the Jim Crow era, and how we still live under the shadow of this to this very day. One of my favorite features about this book Wilkerson brings in a global approach and compares other caste systems in this book. So she basically compares three different groups of people. The main one, obviously, is the African American experience, especially during the Jim Crow era, which is where a bulk of the book focuses on. But also she looks into the Dalits, the Hindu caste in India, and also the Jewish people in Nazi Germany. And in this, she explores the ways in which the Dalits, the Jews, and the Black African Americans are placed under this caste umbrella as the subordinate caste. And some of the things that she asks in this book and in the comparison are, what are the similarities between these three different groups? What are some of the behaviors between the dominant and the subordinate caste? What were the after effects of these caste systems? So she really does place quite a lot of questions to you, and it was just really well researched, and I just loved that she compared these three different groups to sort of explain what caste is. I really loved actually the sort of Indian section of this book where she explains the Dalits and how that originated. And I kind of definitely knew about it, because when I think of the word caste, my mind goes to India. That's just what happens. So I did like that she sort of like delved into that quite a bit in this book. And also I just love how she sort of compared the similarities between how the Dalits are treated, how the Jews were treated in Germany during the Nazi regime, and how African Americans were treated during the Jim Crow era. And you will see a lot of similarities when you read this book. So I really did like those chapters that she sort of goes in and explores all these different caste systems globally. I will say that this definitely was not an easy book to read or to listen to. It was quite upsetting to listen to it, and it also made me feel really tired emotionally, just as a person of color living in a Western country, just to know, it's almost like when Neo finds out about the Matrix, like, oh dang, that's just too real, you know what I mean? It is quite upsetting, but I also feel that this was necessary for her to tell these real life experiences that happened in history, and not to shy away from these stories. And she also used a lot of real life stories as well, even though it was quite hard to read and to listen to. And I took a lot of breaks. That's why it took me 3 months to actually get through this book, because sometimes it would get really heavy and I'm like, okay, I just need to like step away from it for a little bit and read something else. And then I'd go back into it. So you might find yourself doing that, if you kind of take things to heart a bit. So, but yeah, I just thought it was really necessary, and I loved that she didn't shy away from the sort of heavy, the heaviness and the experiences that caste systems have placed on people. One of my favorite sections, I will say, in this book was when she describes how, and I've never really thought about this, but she describes how white immigrants first arrived in the US and where they fell in the rankings of caste. I just thought this was a really fascinating chapter, because I've never really thought about it in that way before. Those aspects of caste systems. And even though, for example, white immigrants migrated here and were not from this land, they're automatically placed in the dominant caste, white caste, I should say. So simply because of the color of the skin. So it's just quite fascinating when you really kind of like take a minute and just think about that, and you're like, wow, it's just sad, but that's just the way it is, and that's what happened. So I really did like certain chapters that she sort of delves into. And also, again, another favorite thing that I liked about this book is towards the end of this book, she sort of looks deeply at the current US affairs for dominant and non-dominant people. And she sort of looks forward into how we can move on, or how we can better fix this sort of caste system. Yeah, I just really liked it. I liked that it wasn't just sort of like historical, but she also looks forward into the future, and also talks about some of our current affairs and things that are happening right now. Also, another favorite bit that I liked about this book is she sort of went into how in Germany, or the caste system in Germany. Wilkerson looked into how Germany handled the aftermath of the Nazi regime and how the country dealt with this unspeakable horror in comparison to the Americans and how we have dealt with the horrors of the Jim Crow era. And the comparisons are just absolutely baffling, you know, when you sort of see Germany and how they deal with it and how it is right now compared to how America is right now since the Jim Crow era. It's so mind-blowing. And, you know, I'm not gonna like tell you what her conclusions were, but it just was really fascinating to read, and it's a bit eye-opening as well. And I just really like that she made those comparisons and sort of thought about the aftermath of these massive events that took time in the past. With all of that and the general review of this book, if I were to describe Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, with 4 words, they would be, the first one is powerful. This book is an instant classic, and I feel like it's going to be a staple in American literature, 100%. I can definitely see it in households, in universities. It is definitely a powerhouse of a book, and it has a very strong and bold premise, which I really liked. The second word is striking, and that is because this book I thought had a really intriguing and captivating title, cover, and also subject matter as well. You know, like when I saw the title, I was like, ooh, that sounds, what's that about? You know, and then the word caste, you know, I just thought it was really intriguing and striking, and it just pulls you right in, right? This book is a real conversation starter, and also her books also have a very strong identity. You know, I feel like when you see it, you know, oh, that's an Isabel Wilkerson. I'll show pictures of both books so you can see, you know, sort of the vibe that she has. So yeah, definitely very striking and a very Wilkerson book. The third word is accessible. And that is because this book is very easy to understand, even though it is quite a big book. It's not very wordy. Like, I hate the type of books that are just so wordy, and I'm like, what is this sentence? Like, I'm not a scholar, I'm just a regular human being. So I really like that she made it accessible to like us regular folk to read, you know, and it's not like an overbearing or like, it's not heavy. I mean, it's heavy, but it's not like heavy as in like, oh, this is way too wordy for me. I also learned a lot while reading this book. So I really always appreciate when I learn something from a book, and I've learned quite a lot. My mind was blown for sure. And also I love that she used a lot of real life stories, and they felt quite relatable. And in turn, that means that I kind of understood what caste is all about. You know, it's not just a bunch of like terms and, you know, dictionary stuff. Like, she uses narrative type of writing, so it makes you feel like you understand what she's saying. So definitely a very accessible book for everyone to read. The fourth word, last but not least, is timely. This is 100% a timely book. It's important, it's necessary, and I think everyone should at least give it a go and read it. If you chose the red pill, like I said, and you want to know about why things are the way they are, then read this book. It'll explain a lot. I feel like it's almost like the umbrella to like a lot of books that I've read in the past, like How to Be an Anti-Racist, you know, books about colorism, about cultural appropriation, about race. You know, it's sort of like fits in that umbrella of books, and it's sort of like the big dog, you know, of those books. So definitely timely read, and I really recommend it. Just to round all of that up, this is a long review, I'm so sorry. Just to round all of that up, it was absolutely brilliantly researched about the US caste system, about the Nazi Germany Jewish caste systems, and about the Dalits and the Brahmin Indian caste systems. You're gonna truly come away with a newfound sense of understanding of why systems are the way that they are, especially in the US. And you will also appreciate how different the aftermath of the Jim Crow era could have been in comparison to Germany and its post-Nazi era. You will leave this book feeling unsettled, 100%, and quite disturbed, but also relieved to finally understand what caste is. All in all, great book, fantastic, 10 out of 10. This is going to be making it into my top 10 of 2021 for sure. and I really cannot wait to read this book. Oh, I've heard so many good things, and I cannot wait to read it at some point. Big book as well, so I'm not reading it like anytime soon, but I will definitely be reading it for sure this year. So with all that said, let's get into my song pick for Caste. For this song, I actually immediately knew who I wanted the artist to be. And based from this book, I knew that I wanted an artist that lived to see the Jim Crow era. I knew that I wanted a Black African-American artist. I knew that I wanted the artist to be a timeless artist, because I feel like this book will carry on for many generations to come, just like this artist that I chose. And also, this artist had an incredible career, and he's still very much respected till this day, you know, long after he's gone, because he's no longer with us. But so the artist that I chose for this book is Miles Davis. I absolutely love Miles Davis. He's a legend. Oh my God, he's just incredible. And I feel like all his songs convey such strong emotion, and he's just brilliant. You know, he's a true raw and effortless talent. So the song that I chose by Miles Davis is a classic, really beautiful song, and it is Blue and Green. One of his most famous songs, and I just really adore this song, and I feel like it complements this book really well. I love the intro as well of this song, it's so beautiful. This whole album is great, you know, so nothing like the blues, I love it. So that's my song pick. I'm gonna post the link for the music video if you want to check it out. There's no music video, sorry, just like to listen to the song for Blue and Green. So that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this book review. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps. And I will post a link below if you'd like to order the book as well from Amazon. And if you want to check out my written review, you know, it's much more in depth than my YouTube review, so you can check that out as well. And that's it. I'm going to shut up now and go. Thank you so much for staying tuned, and have an awesome week.